What's up, everybody? Arrg the Pirate here, and today we're going to have our 5th community corner. Alright, so this community corner was another big one. We got a lot of kind of new teaser type information about this upcoming patch, a little bit about Zinx, the new hero, and just a few questions answered that were, really kind of pretty cool to hear back from. The first thing I'd really like to kind of talk about is Zinx, the new hero, and she's going to be kind of a new type of support. They even said she could show some progress in mid lane and has a little bit of carry potential as well. So we're getting another one of these, kind of high damage solo type heroes, it sounds like, which I'm kind of torn about. I would really like to see a more traditional, lane hero, but I'll get what I can take. They did say the biggest thing about her is she is going to just have crazy mana management. They said when she gets down to that half health and she's at low mana, she's going to be very hard to get to that point, but once she gets to that point, there's nothing she can do. She has a very small health pool compared to most heroes, so this is where you're really going to strive to be able to take her out, because, once she's out of mana, she's done. So a hero like Bellica would just counter her so well, and that's really cool. It's kind of a new spin on how heroes might act or be seen in the future. They did also say she's built for the new system. She's not built for this current system. So we might see her come alive when V42 drops, and she might just not be the greatest as of right now. Kind of how I feel Wraith is. Wraith might be great in version 42 when he can take advantage of just a ton of these new cards, but right now I think he's lacking just a little bit. The next question they answered, well, I'm kind of going out of order, but another question that they answered is, how are they going to balance heroes when there is no cap? And their answer is basically, we aren't. Heroes are not supposed to be balanced. You have heroes that are very good mid lane, or I'm sorry, in the beginning game. You have heroes that kind of come alive in that mid game, and then you have heroes that are amazing in the end game, which is exactly what a hero like FaZe is. She's okay in the beginning, she's decent in mid, and she's amazing in end game. Same with your carries. Your carries don't really come alive until that late game. Mid game they can be hard to deal with, but they're still very, very easy to take out. But once you get that lifesteal and things like that, they can just do so much damage, which is the whole reason for the name carry. Another question was asked about Legacy, and they wanted to know, when is Legacy coming back? And the short answer is, it's not. Legacy is done with. The numbers on Monolith are just so much better. They have more community participation. Sure, there's a lot of people out there that prefer Legacy over Monolith, which I liked some of the things about Legacy. I liked the map, the way it looked, the way it felt better. But to me, Monolith is a better map. I like how the lanes aren't set at different heights. It's kind of one general flat plane. It's not, there's a upper level, lower level. I didn't care for that. I also didn't care for the way you farm or set up the harvesters to collect CXP. I much prefer the Amber Link. It's much more simple, and you don't have to have a card dedicated to getting CXP. And really, if you only had one hero that had one of those harvester cards, you almost never even saw use out of it. There were also a few other things that I just didn't really care for in Legacy. The jungle felt so small, you felt so crammed in there, and team fights weren't really, hey, let's pick this hero. Team fights were, hey, let's just swing our swords until someone dies. Now it feels like, hey, you can focus this one hero and get into a decent engagement in the jungle without having, 1,000 heroes stuffed into this tiny little area, and you're not even really getting body blocked, you're getting wall blocked because you can't back up anymore. Don't get me wrong, I would love to go revisit Legacy and just play it and kind of see how different the two maps are. There's a lot of things about Legacy I just don't even remember anymore, and it would be neat to go back and kind of have that nostalgia moment where, oh, this is so cool, but I don't see it happening. And according to the community corner, the guys at Epic, they're really not ever going to do it either. So hey, don't get your hopes up. Maybe they'll come out with something when the game finally does launch to where you can go play the Legacy map, but while in beta, it's not going to happen. The last small bit of information we got is about towers, and they addressed the towers issue yet again and basically said, hey, towers are fine. They do the perfect amount of damage. They're not a safe place. They're a defendable or defense objective. If you're going to die for a tower, it might not be worth it. Sacrificing yourself to save an inhib or to save a tier 2 might be worth it, or to even take one down, but you should never die for a tower or get into a tower and feel like, hey, no one can touch me. They don't want that. And to be quite honest, if that was the case, you could just roll with everybody has an ADC, stand in your towers, and once you hit max level, everybody's, doing crazy amounts of power, and they could just 1-2 shot everybody, and you've got a team full of ADCs that couldn't be killed because they were standing in their towers. Alright, the biggest information, or the first part of the big information, is masteries are going to be completely reworked, which is something that, I feel we've kind of needed. I don't like how slow we progress through masteries. I would definitely like to see masteries feel more rewarding than they are now. It does feel amazing when you finally do get that master, but if you're a player like me who wants to play several different heroes, not really just stick with one, you've got, 12 or 11 heroes at 7 or 8, and you'll probably never get them mastered because it takes so long. I would definitely like to see some sort of rework, so maybe you don't get the actual master skin, but you do get smaller rewards, and maybe cut the level 9 in half to where you go to 11 levels, and it's not, you have to play 80 games at level 9 to actually get that master. Now, the things that are coming out with this mastery rework are a new skin called the Rivalry skin. So I would assume that when you get your mastery, you get, that color variation, and then they're going to have a Rivalry skin maybe when you hit like level 5. Now you get, instead of that Initiate skin, you get the Challenger skin kind of thing. It's called the Rivalry skin though, so we'll have to kind of wait and see what that is. There's also going to be a new emote that you will be rewarded for either when you purchase it or by leveling up. So right now we just get one emote, now there's going to be 2. And lastly, there's a cosmetic that they have not told us what it's going to be. I would assume it's going to be a banner or something along those lines, maybe like a variation of your weapon or something like that, instead of just a new skin, because, they did specifically say a new skin, and now they're saying, hey, it's a new cosmetic item. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be a banner or something along those lines, or like I said, a new variation of your weapon, which would be very cool. Now, the one thing they did say is buy your masteries now. They didn't really say why, so I'm going to assume it's two different reasons. They either have increased the price for masteries with reputation, so they're going to be a lot more expensive, or the masteries are kind of going to go away, and it's going to be, instead of a new mastery, we have like a rivalry thing. And if you have the mastery stuff now, you're not going to be able to get it in the future. So pick it up now instead of waiting. And I've never really bought masteries with the heroes that I don't play all that often. You know, someone like Richter, Rampage, Aurora, those type of heroes that I just really don't play all that much. I've never even worried about getting masteries for them, but I went ahead and just bought them all. I've got all the masteries now, and maybe I'll see something out of that, maybe I won't. No big deal. I got plenty of rep. They did also talk about the rep store, and they said it's coming. Didn't really give a date, but it's going to be here eventually. Now, the last kind of big note of information is about the new deck system. Now, I kind of was under the assumption that you're going to buy a card. Let's say you buy something like an Adamant Edge, and you'll be able to infinitely upgrade that Adamant Edge. There's no longer going to be a 3-slot limit. It's just, hey, throw whatever you want on it, or, you know, throw power and health on it. Apparently that's not correct. That's going completely away. Cards are no longer going to have upgrades in them, and there's no longer going to be, you know, these extra slots in cards. That's just completely disappearing. So an Adamant Edge will now give you, you know, 3 power and 1 health, or whatever it is. So that's going to change things tremendously. I was yet again kind of shocked that that came out. Another thing is you will now be able to pick your affinities. So let's say you're playing Sparrow. Well, Sparrow doesn't have access to Fury. Now you can just play Fury on any hero. So when you build a deck, instead of picking, you know, Sparrow, okay, go through her cards and pick the cards you want, you now pick the affinities you want, and these decks can be transferred to every hero. So now you can have an ADC deck. So say you play Sparrow, Twin Blast, Murdoch, and Revenant. You play them all the exact same. Well, now you just have a simple ranged ADC deck, and you get to play that with all of them. The only issue that I can kind of see coming out with being able to pick the exact deck you want with affinities and everything is something like, hey, you have a Sparrow deck, or you have a ranged ADC deck, and it's the same no matter what ranged ADC you're playing. For instance, Sparrow and Twin Blast, they're played fairly the same. You know, they have higher attack speed, they've got a little better wave clear than Murdoch does, so, you know, you're kind of playing them slightly the same. Well, if you build them with the exact same deck, it almost doesn't even matter which hero you're picking at that point, because you're going to be the exact same. Which we kind of are at that point right now with the way decks are being built, you know, full crit and whatnot. But Sparrow is completely different than Twin Blast because of the affinities. But this is also going to change things as well. You'll be able to go into Sparrow and pick up, let's say, Corruption and Fury, and really just dish out a ton of damage, maybe even pick up like something like a Necroveil, or, you know, you have access to cards that you never really had before. Something like having Lifesteal on a power card. Well, Sparrow didn't have access to that before, and now she does. Of course, all the cards are going to change, so right now all we can do is just really guess as to what's going to happen. But hopefully we see some really positive things that come out. Now, they also said that with this ability, say the new off-lane hero comes out and, hey, pretty much all your off-lane heroes run this type of deck. So your first game with her, where you don't really have a whole lot of experience, you don't really know this card works good on her, you can build these really generic decks. So no matter what, you go in with a decent deck instead of trying to guess what you're going to expect. Now, I know I did this with Wraith. I went in with Wraith, I had mana regen on him, I had a little bit of ability pin, I didn't stack any attack speed at all, and turns out that's completely opposite of how I build him now. So, knowing this, that you're going to be able to make these generic decks that you can play with anybody, I really do like that. I think that's going to be a very positive thing, and you're not going to instantly hate a hero because you built their deck wrong the first time you played them and have to play a 45-minute game of just having a terrible build. Well, that's going to wrap it up for my 5th edition of the Community Corner. I'm still kind of blown away with just exactly how much is changing in Paragon, and I'm really looking forward to this V42 update. I think we really need some sort of, just facelift to really get some idea of what Paragon is going to have in its future. Well, thanks for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this video, show me some love, leave me a comment, and think about subscribing, and I'll see y'all in the next video.